Episode Dead is fun and delicious, and I hope you complete it for the other, and in the latter there is a wonderful story. We start with Dr. Khaled Montaser. The photo was published on the 7th day, and this news was that the number of victims of Hurricane Milton in the American state of Florida had risen to 16 dead, and he also published this news. Death of 717 Hajj pilgrims, Gang 863 incident. Therefore, man incident. Dr. Khaled Montaser Ali Al-Kabarin wrote this as a dedication to the holders of the theory of divine punishment and divine revenge. Perhaps the brain will provoke and work, and the dose of gloating in the Salafis mind is 2 pills less, and we know that gloating is a despicable feeling. It is practiced by the weak, psychologically and mentally defeated, and they are simply natural disasters. Those who know prepare for it with scientific thinking. He is the one who also reduces the number of victims by publishing comments on it. This news is from the students of Al-Azhar University, who published this picture and wrote on it, "Oh, if all of Egypt were like this." Ahmed wrote to Dr. Khaled Baki and said to him, "Believe me, you are no different from them at all?" Dr. Khaled asked him, "Is this reasonable, Hajj?" "In my books, Professor, you address people every time a logical idea tries to enter their minds, encountering 404 of them. And Dr. Khaled robbed too?" I mean, he lost hope. He was determined to say this. He responded to Dr. Khaled Montaser and said to him, "Did you not see that we sent the devils against the disbelievers, causing them harm? Imagine that you worry yourself every day, that you make suspicions about Islam, but you will not be able to. Even if I myself think of you, I enjoy the world, as long as this is my principle, but you need to know that when you breathe, when you wake up from sleep, when you eat, and when you drink, you are attacking Islam." Dr. Khaled Montaser responded to him, "I know that the post hurt you. Sorry." Egyptian 12. The picture is advice. Do not follow the snow in the land of horses. Do not follow ignorance in Arab countries. Muhammad Sayyid wrote to Dr. Khaled, "And whoever deluded you that some Muslims do not receive punishment. If a Muslim disobeys God, punishment may be sent down on him to make him an infidel, raise his rank, test his patience, and remain a Muslim. As for the infidel who fights for God and his saints, punishment will be sent down on him." To break his arrogance and take revenge on him, Dr. Khaled responded to him and said to him, "But not to the degree of 770, and also in Hajj, what sin remains for those who are punished in this sacred ritual?" O genius of Nashwa al-Anani's time, I published this post, and Saber was quoting the words of the Iraqi researcher and thinker Ahmed al-Kabaji, who said that breastfeeding is satisfied in milk. The lineages of the firstborn, sheep, and goats, all of them remain our mothers and sisters, the most honorable books, a great mystery, elusive to understand. How can we have in Egypt the holiest and purest spot in the world? They felt like they were crazy about God himself on Mount Moses, and this place should not be a pilgrimage for more than half of the earth's population. Basing on the inherent nature of Islam. The truth, and the Jews all believe that Moses is a prophet sent by God. This violent ecstasy published a civil post. They published the news of the disaster, the 2 trains standing still, and someone wrote a rigid, joyful writer because he is rigid and not happy in a civil society. I wrote the idea of joy in misfortunes that affect ordinary people because it is different with a regime. This is an exclusive invention for the children of our heart. Mustafa published the photo Dia, a picture of Egyptian society before the 1970s, humility, fanaticism, and not civil infidelity. I published this post. It belongs to Muhammad Khalil. People wrote that I do not understand. But the truth is that the Salafi is afraid that God will have mercy on other people and let men enter us after he deprived himself of everything. in accordance with the instructions of his sheikh, in the hope that this deprivation will bring him to heaven. That's why it's a feeling. Security is born to him when he is reassured that all the people who lived their lives, of course in brackets, in a normal way, but for him it is not erased. These people who live their lives like this will enter fire, so he is busy all the time. How can fire enter them? That's why he prefers to fill you with words like this, and ideas come up from under the ground. On the surface, it is religious talk, but on the inside, it is a psychological crisis. That it is. Did Hassan Nasrallah's daughter work on X? Industries, goodbye, father. You were the yes father and the yes leader. You sold your soul to God, and you won the sale, and we are on what you walked on. We will not walk until we meet God on what you found. We bear witness. God will not destroy us, and we will not insult them. Yahya al-Sinwar, Khaled Montaser, wrote a revolution in the jurisprudence of inheritance. Is it possible for the girl to block the uncle? I was concerned about the issue of whether the uncle inherits his uniform like the girl. And there are only girls left, and I wondered where the logic was. Where is an uncle or cousin who inherits a costume like a girl whose father is naughty and tired of his wealth? His money is forbidden to his daughter. She inherits it all and shares it with her uncle or cousin, who may not ask about it before death and will take the money and run. He does not see his face after death. I saw the cases of cousin Mazarish's daughters who received the inheritance, and then he reached the age. Be flexible, folks. What was useful in the past when the uncle spent money on his niece in the tribe no longer exists now. Dr. Khaled Montaser published the picture of this book, and Dr. Saad al-Hilali wrote in this book, the most important thing is that it was issued by Dar al-Maref, and I was honored to receive the first copy of it. He says in it that we need a revolution in the jurisprudence of inheritance, and that there are many injustices due to the rigid, petrified understanding of this jurisprudence by clerics. He presented this issue on the attached page, through which it is possible for the girl to hide the public or the uncle in the event of the death of the father or mother. Cher wrote strongly to awaken the minds to some extent. He did not like this talk and told him, try talking about gasoline and increasing prices, and in this case you will not be able to open your position. Dr. Khaled answered him and told him the news of Gabriel. The one who came down in Rabah, what about it, Uncle Hajj? Mahmoud inquired. He also avoided the question, why don't you write about the people's suffering? Since your pen is supposedly free, you claim to seek logic, so answer him. The rise in benzene and the increase in prices, and you say fourth, eh? Did the two get together? What do you respond to the man who wrote these serious topics to him? Did you talk about it? Are you obviously familiar with gasoline and diesel? Muhammad Syed also, didn't you like what Dr. Khaled said? He said to him, medicine, and no one told you that the uncle is also obliged to provide alimony to his deceased niece. Speak freely, she came to you. Tanweer, we lost a lot. Dr. Khaled responded to him and said to him, did you make me laugh? He said, obligatory. He said, bring me one uncle who spent on girls every day. You seem to be watching a lot of Indian films. Mr. Ghonim. He responded to Dr. Khaled. He said to him, this is not a year. This is the Holy Quran, boss. Dr. Khaled said to him, by the way, Saad al-Hilali also understands the Quran. He explained a verse that suggested the girl hides her uncle. He asked him, so where are the scholars? This with you for the other. Al-Hilal is a scientist, and with him are other scientists who are convinced or convinced by his words. I am waiting for your kind response. Dr. Khaled responded and said to him, do you not have a member? It's called a brain that decides and thinks. Does someone need to think of Sheriff Hamada books for you? When the father dies, females get 2-3 and males get 1-3. In other words, contrary to what is currently happening, the man is supposed to be struggling and striving. The girl is supposed to not work or have a means of livelihood even if she is married. because there are terrible numbers of divorced women and numbers of widows or girls who are not yet married, even though they are over 40. Why are we blocking them? 2:3, and takes them who is he. What was supposed to work for the 7th century AD is not compatible with the situation in the current century. Dr. Khaled liked Abir Munir's response. She said, I and Rasi are from my mother and father, and in parentheses, I mean they did not give birth to anyone else. The two families celebrated him after they passed away in the name of masculinity and religion. My cousin's children were looted, and Rasi are from my father and left me. I stole my head from my mother, and the reason is that I am a free rebel, neither obedient nor submissive. Dr. Khaled responded to her with your dick. Did they spend a penny on you? Then, my response is my response to those who are talking at the expense of my uncle. I said to him, there is no such thing as this, doctor, not yet or before. They also wish for my death because if I resort to the law, I will not be able to take my rights. And also because if you solve something that they plunder, and you also write, oh, I forgot to tell you, those who played left me and sat with me. They spent on their orphaned male brothers' daughters, who remain their uncles, and on top of that, they saved them and tied it all to us on a dime. Why? Because veiled, obedient, and good girls are not like them. Amira wrote to him for the first time. I agree with you because I went through the experience. Dr. Khaled responded, thank God, in agreement. Are you convinced? Does a person have to learn to know that the words of the sheikhs are a cause? Khaled wrote in Tunisia, his uncle or his children do not inherit in parentheses from the legacy of the enlightened leader Habib Bourguiba. Mayada wrote, I was one of those who were wrong because of these laws. I had 7 daughters when their father died. They inherited the whole family with us on the father's side, and this is one of the stories that went through my life. I went through another disgusting experience on the occasion of concluding my daughter's decision. She was without a gift, an uncle, a relation, or a grandfather, and I raised them alone with financial help from my family. In concluding the decision, the Sharia law does not give me the eligibility to be my daughter's agent, while the Sharia judge who sees her for the first time. Her agent was in her century's decade, is that right? Nerman, I wrote it not only the year, but the one who bears the weakness of his sister, and the son is completely far from the father, such as in the case of his illness, he does not pay a penny, and does not get tired, and the daughter is the one who is paralyzed and tired with her mother, and the son comes to inherit the weakness on the ready. Ahmed also did not dare to talk about massacres, displacement, bombing, and systematic killing being carried out against our brothers in Gaza and Lebanon. Is this all not enough that you give it space on your page? About him? Is this outside the scope of enlightenment? Silva wrote it. Stay in the massacres of your lovers in Gaza and Lebanon. Marwa wrote that it is a very difficult thing, doctor. Unfortunately, no matter how simple the inheritance is, there is no heir like a mother or an uncle who is forbidden to take the inheritance, even if Sharia law gave them the imposed right, the voice of conscience, reason, and mercy. He defeats them. Dr. Khaled Montaser shared Dr. Hossam Mowafy's words from a program. A healthy body does not store water, and it says drink as much as you want during suhoor. You will also be thirsty before breakfast. If you are healthy and say, I went down to pray once in a mosque and found the imam saying, the book is in 4 words, so we sent down water from the sky and watered it for you, and you are not guarantors for it. Dr. Khaled responded to Dr. Hossam with respect, stating there's no need to interpret the verse. In particular, you say it at all, meaning that you do not have stores for it, which is not intended at all. Storage is in the body, and you do not have stores for it. That is, you do not have its stores. That is, we who store this water, we bring it down if we wish, we catch it if we wish, and we repair it, and we send it down from heaven without purity. and we sent down from the sky water in a pot, and it quenched the sorrow on the earth, and surely we shall go with it to those who are able. That is, you are not able to store it in wells, springs, and treachery. The Quran is a book of guidance only. It has a stomach book and no surgery book. Yasser wrote it. Well done, Sheikh Khaled. God's grace is good too. Shadi wrote this text well? Dr. Khaled said, praise be to God. And Shadi responded, because enlightenment comes from within the religious framework. Khalil wrote, for the first time that I read to you reasonable words. Dr. Khaled responded to him that it was strange. Faisal wrote, you are also happy to interpret the Quran. And Dr. Khaled told him, imagine coming to the story that I liked. And you share with you a girl who wanted to kill her mother-in-law a long time ago. A girl named Lily lived in China. She married and melted into her mother-in-law's house to live with her husband in his family home. Returning the country there, and it was not long before Lily found that she was no longer able to live with her mother-in-law at all. She found that her personality did not match and even differed completely from the personality of her mother-in-law as well as the personality of her mother-in-law. The same thing disagreed with her. Lily was angry with many of her mother-in-law's habits, in addition to her mother-in-law being critical of Lily. Always, the days passed. Weeks, Lily and her mother-in-law spoke incessantly about Iraq and arguing, but what made the matter worse and worse was that, according to Chinese traditions, the daughter-in-law, who is the wife of India, must submit to her mother-in-law and obey her in everything, and all this anger and misery caused her husband great sadness and pain, finally. Lily found that she could not stand like this in the face of her mother-in-law's bad manners and subsequent control. I decided to do anything to avoid it. The next day, Lily went to her father's close friend, Mr. Hu Yang, a medicinal herb dealer in the village where she lives, and told him about the whole situation and asked him if he could give her some poisonous herbs so that her problem with her mother-in-law could be solved once and for all, and thought is ecstatic for a while. Finally, he said, look at me. I will help you solve your problem, but you have to listen to what I tell you and obey me. Lily replied to him, present, Yahoo. I'll do whatever you say. Hu Yang entered the inner room. He came back a few minutes later carrying a painting of herbs, and Lily said, look, you cannot use a fast-acting poison to get rid of your mother-in-law, because that will arouse suspicion in the souls of the people of the village. So I gave you some herbs that build toxins in her body, and you have today without day that. Prepare delicious food for your mother-in-law and put a few herbs in a pot for cooking. In order to be sure that no one will suspect you when you die, you must be very conscious of treating her in a very friendly manner, not arguing with her, and obeying her in all her wishes. Rather, they treated her like she was the queen of the house, and she became very nice. She thanked Mr. Hoyan and hurried home to begin the murder plan for her mother-in-law. Weeks passed and months followed, and Lily prepares excellent special food every other day for her mother-in-law and treats you as her mother. 6 months later, everything changed at home. Lily began to exercise control over her anger. From her mother-in-law, she even found that she no longer behaved foolishly or angrily towards her. Lily did not enter into arguments with her mother-in-law for 6 months because her mother-in-law began to treat her more tenderly and more simply. Thus, the mother-in-law's attitude towards Lily changed, and she began to love her as if she were her daughter. She told her friends and relatives she didn't truly exist. I will stay with Lily. And Lily and his mother-in-law began to deal together as a real nation with a real son. As for Lily's husband, he is usually very happy when he sees what is happening. But Lily was upset about something, so she went to Mr. Hoyag and said to him, "Mr. Hoyag, please help me to make the poison that I gave it to me does not kill. My mother-in-law, she has changed into a good lady, and I have come to love her as if she were my mother. I don't want her to die from the poison I put in her food." He smiled. He saved his head a little and then said to her, "Lily, there is nothing to upset you. I didn't give you ghee. The herbs I gave you, which were vitamins to strengthen her health, the only ladder was in your mind and your feelings towards her. But all this is gone." Was it because of the love you showed her? Does not such strife and dissension occur in our homes and churches, among our family members, and the men of our churches? This is loving therapy. Let us listen. Let us obey the words of divine revelation to us all and put them into practice. Give love that meets love, and remove from you all bitterness, indignation, wrath, shouting, and blasphemy with all malice. And all of you be kind to one another, forgiving saints, as God also forgave you in Christ. In the epistle of the apostle, the God of Ephesus, chapter 4, and let the name of Asma be glorified. If you like the video, I hope you subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to receive everything new, share comments, and thank you to all fans and followers. Thank you.